G'day guys and gal. I've made it pretty clear that both the Dark Angels and their Primarch, the Lion, are my favorite legion. This might make this video seem a bit of a biased kiss-ass, but after spending a lot of time with the Horus Heresy lore recently, reading over like a dozen Heresy books, Primarch books, and short stories, it's become abundantly clear that not every legion was made equal. Some Primarchs and their legions are just like straight up better than others. Whether it be due to the power and influence of their Primarch or the legion's own tactics and culture, there is just like a definitive tier list. At the top of that list is the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels have overcome foes that 100% would have spelt the extinction of lesser legions. The Rungdung would have annihilated the Emperor's children. The Crave would have slaughtered the White Scars. Yet against the bastion of the Dark Angels, these unstoppable forces were crushed. There is a reason why the Emperor chose the Dark Angels as his super weapon. It's because they were the only ones that had the discipline, restraint, and will to use such messed up weapons of war. Before we get started, sometimes the stars align and brands that I've been a customer for years reach out to me. These are my favorite because I already promote these brands to my mates, so why not make money promoting it to you guys? The best example is today's sponsor, HelloFresh. I don't say this lightly, HelloFresh has made a massive impact on my life. As I work out every day, diet is a big thing for me. I tried living off microwave meals but got sick of them, then tried to cook food, but I didn't really know what I was doing or how to make it balanced. Also, it tasted like shit. Ordering food 24/7 is a bad idea for my bank account and waistline. Then I got onto HelloFresh and never looked back, as it literally solves all these issues. A service which drops off fresh ingredients to your doorstep, as well as a simple guide on how to cook each meal. The meals are delicious, never get old due to their variety and freshness, and have great macros. Not to mention they only take like half an hour to cook per meal, shorter than it takes for a food delivery. So not only am I saving money, getting bigger and better meals, but I've also learned how to cook, which is a massive boost on your quest to get laid. Chicks love a man that can cook. So to save your time, effort, macros, and waistline, use my link and code POGMAJOROCT65. It should auto apply if you use my link. It'll save you 65% off and free shipping. God damn, you'd have to be dumber than a drongo that got dunked with a didgeridoo to turn that one down. Cheers to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over why the Dark Angels and their Primarch were the greatest legion, picking out their highlights, victories, and obscene weaponry rather than, just retelling their lore. A key part of this video is how powerful the Dark Angels were, not currently are. Their modern day chapter is a bit of a meme, and not in a good way. So we'll be putting the focus on them during the Crusade and the Heresy. Let's get into it. The Dark Angels put a lot of pride and emphasis on the fact that they were the first legion, the Astartes whom all others are just mere copies of. Their roots go all the way back into the Unification Wars. They were the legion that helped put down the Thunder Warriors Rebellion. For as long as the galaxy has had Astartes, it has had Dark Angels. As the Dark Angels were the Emperor's first and most numerous Astartes legion, they were the first to be tasked with all the really fucked up missions, killing witch lords, destroying tainted lands, being exposed to a lot of unpleasant Xeno shit that would drive others insane. As such, they became very good at keeping secrets. The things they fought and killed would not be recorded in the annals of history, as they were not glorious victories, more so ruthless purgings that had to be done. The First Legion were reliable, effective, and didn't gossip. Small talk was a no-no for the Dark Angels, and to discourage non-superhumans from trying to even talk with them, they began adorning their armor with skulls, bones, and other aspects of death. They truly were the Emperor's own angels of death. Whilst other legions were holding parades on easily compliant human worlds, the Dark Angels were sent to root out the galaxy's monsters from their own decrepit dens. So as we see, even prior to the discovery of their Primarch, the Dark Angels were one of the first and foremost legions, the Emperor's favorite even. This is heavily contrasted to the Blood Angels, who were a bunch of fuckhead berserkers that would have made Angron wet, or the White Scars, who were so scattered that they felt no camaraderie with their own legion, or even the Raven Guard, who were basically just Horus's stealth specialists at this point. Not to mention the borderline extinct Thousand Sons and Emperor's Children. However, when they found their Primarch, they went balls to the walls. Despite being found a bit later on than others, including Horus, the Lion was able to rapidly take over his legion and raise its effectiveness to a point that within a few years, his tally of victories had caught up to and potentially even surpassed Horus's. He ditched the legion's death-like visage and installed his own knightly and honorable aesthetic in its stead. Unlike a few of the other legions, such as the Death Guard or the World Eaters, whose meeting with their Primarchs was jarring and actually set the legion back, the Lion was able to smoothly combine the Dark Angel's grim and thankless determination with the honor and culture of Caliban. Both Caliban and the Dark Angels were great at keeping secrets, so this gelled together really well. With the Lion at their head, the Dark Angels were set to easily overtake the Ultramarines and the Lunar Wolves' glories to become the indisputable Master Legion. Then, the Rundung happened. Mankind encountered a Xeno race so powerful that it threatened to destroy the Imperium then and there. It's actually strongly theorized that it was the Rundung who caused the demise of at least one of the lost Primarchs. To face this apocalyptic threat, the Dark Angels were chosen by the Emperor as humanity's champion, to spearhead the counterattack. Although there were 9 other legions that ended up getting involved, the Dark Angels took the brunt of it, losing 50,000 Astartes. No other legion came close to losing that many during the Great Crusade. To then ice it off, just after those massive losses, the Lion led his Dark Angels against the King of the Crave, the most powerful Xeno in the galaxy, losing over a third of his entire fleet's mortal crew and thousands more Astartes. Talk about a double kick to the fucking nuts. The Lunar Wolves and Ultramarines didn't surpass the Dark Angels because they were better, it was because the Dark Angels took on the most powerful enemies of mankind in the galaxy and got wounded as a result. Here's a fun little fact about the Angels' fight with the Crave. The Dark Angels are always given shit and meme for their secrecy. This is fair enough. The modern day Dark Angels are almost laughable with how over the top their secrecy is, but during the Crusade era it served them well. When one of the Angels, a Knight of the Centaurus, which was one of the many specialist orders in the Legion, had his mind combed by a Crave warrior, the Crave got extremely frustrated, as the Angel had no idea who his fellow Knights actually were, hence the Crave couldn't locate or lock onto them. On top of that, the only reason why the Dark Angels are able to use their forbidden arsenal without getting universally censured by the rest of the Imperium is because they don't even tell most of their own Legion what they have locked away. Speaking of which, what do they actually have locked away? Well, one of their spicier weapons are enslaved men of iron, genuine AI warriors that have proven to be extremely effective against psychic enemies. They also have special guns and bullets that flay your soul from your body and destroy it, meaning unbreakable psychic barriers are suddenly very breakable. They were basically given all the weapons that still remained on Terra from the Dark Age of technology. The Emperor was actually going to use the Dark Angels and this ancient non-mechanicus technology to conquer Mars if the Martians weren't going to be his bitch. So that means the Emperor had given them tech that was beyond even Mars. When it came time for the Emperor to elect the War Master, quite a few people thought he would choose the Lion. The Lion did, at least, that's for sure. However, he ended up picking Horus instead. Why was that? Is it because Horus was a better Primarch? Fuck no. The Lion was a league above his brothers except for maybe Sanguinius and Magnus. Being in the presence of the Lion was very intense. Some Astartes who had no issue looking into their own Primarch's eyes would have to fight the urge to kneel whenever they were in the presence of the Lion. It was said that the only Primarch who left the same impression as the Emperor was the Lion. He wasn't insecure, never doubted himself, and commanded absolute authority. Contrast that with Fulgrim, who was in a constant state of borderline meltdown over his insecurity, or Horus, whose insecurity and ego was exploited to turn him to chaos. The difference is startling. The Emperor knew this and even said to the Lion that one of the reasons why that he chose Horus as War Master is because Horus craves attention. He needs to be patted on the head and given a bone. However, the Lion doesn't. Loyalty and duty is its own reward. The Lion finds celebration and glory to be vain and unnecessary. He knows he's a fucking beast at what he does. He doesn't need a bunch of retards banging the drum to show him. A secondary reason as to why the Emperor didn't choose the Lion as War Master is because during the Emperor's future scrying and 4D chess game with Malkador, it was shown that whoever the Emperor picked as War Master would eventually betray the Imperium. So there's a good chance that the Emperor valued the Lion so much that he wouldn't risk losing him by placing him in that role. When the heresy broke out, all the traitor Primarchs were shit scared of the Dark Angels. The Blood Angels were tricked into a demonic ambush. Even the Ultramarines were thought to be easily beatable by the Wordbearers, but the Dark Angels, no. Horus literally did everything he could to get them out of the way and delay them. He sent them across the galaxy before the heresy, then he sent the Night Lords to slow them down. In response, the Dark Angels were able to ambush the Night Lords. Yes, they ambushed the Ambusher Legion, and they killed a shitload of them, effectively sidelining them for the rest of the heresy. The Lion was also able to beat Conrad in a clean 1v1, despite Conrad's ability to see the future. The Lion had this uncanny ability with his sword, subconsciously changing his strokes mid-strike, which fucked with Conrad's foresight. Even Sanguinius was unsure if he would be able to beat Conrad, but the Lion just straight up did. With the Night Lords out of the way, Horus had to pray that the Mega Warp Storm, cutting the galaxy in half, would be enough to hold them back. It was effective, but the Lion decided to destroy pretty much every traitor world while he waited for the chance to breach the storm and reach Terra. Not only did that fuck with the traitor supply lines of recruits, but it also meant they had virtually no strongholds to retreat to. This is why the traitor legions suffered so many casualties on their way back to the Eye of Terror. If they had their homeworlds intact, maybe they could have mounted a defense and counterattack, but instead they had to leg it into the vicious and unknown territory of the Eye. When Horus discovered the Lion was only weeks away from Terra, he shat himself. If the Lion arrived, the siege would end in the Imperium's victory. Now think about all that, and then remember, he had this much of an impact on the heresy despite losing over 50,000 Marines just before it started. He was sent out of the way, then attacked by the Night Lord's Legion and was stuck behind a warp storm. With them being so powerful, it's only fitting that the Lion and the Dark Angel's demise would not come from Xenos or other legions, but the Dark Angels itself. On his return to Caliban, the Lion was ambushed by fallen Dark Angels, being put into a coma at the heart of the Dark Angel's main ship. A coma he remains in to this day, but I believe won't last much longer. With the loss of their Primarch, the Dark Angels did unravel a bit. Their secrecy became a negative, as the shame of their own Legion brothers betraying the Lion shook them to their core. So whilst they may not be likable as a chapter, they are still wildly powerful, and if the Lion returns, unites the Dark Angel's successors and combines them with the Fallen, he'll have a legion of angels numbering in the hundreds of thousands, a force that would shake the galaxy, either acting as salvation to mankind or as a challenge to Guilliman's rule. This is why I'm so keen for the Lion's return. It wouldn't just be this boon for the Imperium, it would create a complicated, delicate situation. Maybe he even creates his own mini Imperium on the dark side of the galaxy. Regardless, the Lion and his Dark Angels were the best legion. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there is not only a slap load of nude cosplays, but also a boatload of Battlemace 40 million hentai. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more dark content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.